everyone, Shanna here with Apogee of the Moon, and I am back with a forecast. It's been a little while for this next coming week from the 12th to the 12th to the 18th of June. And so we have some interesting things going on, and so I probably should come on and give you guys a forecast and bring in all 12 signs and all of that. So I will say that we don't really have too much going on this weekend. No, we don't. So the shebang kicks off the week with Mercury moving back into Gemini, which is really good for our thinking, our speaking, our communicating. And instead of feeling like we're moving at a snail's pace, things are going to pick up again. Things are going to move a lot faster. Our speech will anyway, and we will definitely be being able to communicate in new and exciting ways. We have the sun here, so Mercury is strengthening the sign of Gemini with the sun here. And we also are going to be seeing the sun come into a really nice trine with Saturn. Speaking of the sun, right? The sun coming into a really nice trine with Saturn over in Aquarius that's now retrograde. So 25 degrees, it's still at its station point, which means that we're going to see some really very grounded communication this week for sure. Especially as we get into Wednesday and Thursday of this week. We also have Venus coming conjunct the North Node. So you want to talk about karmic events happening. Venus coming conjunct the North Node at 22 degrees. The nodes have been at the 22 degrees for a while now. So this means that there could definitely be some developments in terms of where we're going, what we're doing, who we're interacting with, the money, the material, the possessions. This is all Venus and Taurus energy. And this is a fated karmic direction. Wherever this is showing up for you, there could definitely be some very fated, very karmic events that are unfolding this week. I know for me personally, there is something happening this week, but I'm not at liberty yet to talk about it. It's on the hush hush down low for a little while at least. We do also have the sun coming into the exact square with Neptune. I don't love squares with Neptune, especially being ruled by the sun myself. This is generally speaking a time when your energy can feel really sapped and tapped out, and like there's an energy drain somewhere and you just can't quite figure it out. You feel lethargic. You don't want to talk to anyone. You don't want to do anything. You just can't get your energy levels up there to do anything. That's a total thing. But the biggest event really this week is actually happening earlier in the week. And that would be the full moon in Sagittarius. So this full moon is going to be at perigee, and anytime there is a full or a new moon at perigee or apogee, for those of you that don't know, these are points in the sky where the moon is at its closest, which would be perigee, or at its farthest, which would be apogee, hence the name Apogee of the Moon. That's what I named my business after. These are points of intensity in the sky, and so they can bring about changes in either very sudden and or long lasting ways. And so with the moon at perigee, though, this is going to be closer to the earth. Our emotions are going to be even more heightened. Our energy levels might be sapped out because of the square to Neptune. So there's definitely some psychic drains going on with Neptune, especially stationing to go retrograde later this month. And so there's definitely some energy around this full moon around, culmination, completion, finalization, reevaluation, and, sitting with what we've created, what we've done, and understanding maybe where we could have missed the mark, where we could have been wrong in something, or where there's something that maybe we're confused about, why something's not doing what we want it to do, or someone is not doing something we want them to do, or where maybe we've missed details of something going on, right? With the sun up in Gemini, we need to take into consideration the details, because that's what the sun's going through right now, and all the little sticky details that go on, we need to make sure we have our I's dotted and our T's crossed. And with the moon in Sagittarius, we're going to want our freedom. We're going to rebel probably against whatever's going on, especially with this square to Neptune. We're not going to really understand why things are shaping up the way they're shaping up. And we could definitely see people emotionally volatile doing this whole thing and being ready to shake their lives up in such a way as to break free and break out of a certain sticky situation that they find themselves in. The last aspect that's going on this week will be Venus in square with Saturn. This one's going to be interesting just because Venus is in a home sign, Saturn's in a home sign, Saturn's retrograde. So there's going to be some really interesting things going on here. This could be, interference from the powers that be in the money system that's going on, and the monies and the materials and the possessions and the things going on in the world. This could also be top-down hierarchical squashing of grassroots movements that have to do with money or with farming in particular, because this is Taurus. So just be aware that there are some things going on here that are very karmic this week, that are very, what's the word I'm looking for? Fated in direction. So definitely be aware of all of that. Now, getting into all signs forecasts. So I'll be talking about this full moon in relation to how it's hitting your chart. So with Aries and Aries rising, this full moon is hitting this is like a push-pull kind of thing going on between your 3rd and your 9th house. So thinking, speaking, writing, communicating, publishing up there in the 9th house as well. On the opposite end of that 3rd house, public speaking. There could be, emotional upswellings that have to do with maybe even institutions or traveling to institutions, or even there could be something going on behind the scenes that's got your attention that's kind of nebulous and unnecessary, and you don't really know why it's going on or what's going on. There's going to be heightened emotions here, and especially I would dare say even on the home front, with people that you live with, things like that. Maybe there's someone going to hospital, or and I'm not saying this to scare you, I'm just saying this because the moon does rule the 4th house, and the 4th house is our home, our family, our property, or where we come from, our place of living. And having a full moon up here in the 9th house in square with Neptune, I'm not really keen on this one. There could definitely be some very interesting things going on too with just straight up institutions, whether or not this is higher education. This could be arguments and disputes, or some type of manipulations that are going on, maybe behind the scenes with educational institutions as well, kind of manipulating a situation from behind the scenes, things like that. Definitely pay attention to what's going on intuitively for you. You do have Mercury strengthening that sun, with Mercury freshly entering Gemini, even though it is in shadow, it's helping to strengthen, the thinking, the speaking, the writing, the communicating, and all of that. So there definitely, I would say, use your mercurial abilities here with the 3rd house. This could also be something to do with maybe you have siblings that are at a distance from you, and there's a communication that comes in about them. Maybe it's something to do with, behind the scenes, or a private conversation that goes on, something like that. For Taurus and for Taurus rising, this full moon is happening in your 2nd and your 8th house. And so, Taurus, you've been having people, places, things, some stuff like that over the last couple of years in these 2nd houses, with all these eclipses, with your finances, letting go of maybe a way that you make money, and relying more on, goodness, I'm going backwards here, trying to speak too fast with Mercury still in Taurus. So there could be actually some things going on in terms of your finances. Maybe there's things going on with joint finances as well. And with this square to Neptune happening, it's happening in your 11th house. And so there could definitely be some weird manipulations, weird lies, weird deceitful kind of energies, confusing energies, misunderstandings to do with friends. This has to do with money, materials, possessions, things like that. For you, luckily though, Mercury is strengthening the sign of Gemini. It is now back freshly in Gemini at 0 degrees. So There could be finalizations around what's going on there. This could also be a fulfillment, a completion, and a finalization, maybe of a will and testament, or maybe of any type of insurance claims or payouts that you have been having to deal with, especially, being that this is the first full moon that's not an eclipse in the sign of Sagittarius. There's going to be a need and a want and a desire for freedom. You're going to be wanting to communicate that in partnership and with other people as well, just because this is also a house of other. So just be aware of that. For Gemini and for Gemini rising, Gemini, this full moon is highlighting your 7th house of partnerships, all kinds of partnerships. This is highlighting, see the sun coming through your sign. This is kind of this, you're being illuminated, Gemini. You're being illuminated by the sun, right? Coming through your sign, where the sun goes, our attention follows. Generally speaking, things of a Gemini nature, thinking, speaking, writing, communicating, you and your happy chatty patty ways, or chatty Patrick ways, as the case may be. There's dynamism going on here. And then with Mercury coming through, your chart ruler, or the dispositor of your sun or moon, coming through here, strengthening the sign of Gemini, there can be support there of what's going on with you specifically, but there's going to be an intensity. There's going to be an intensity and heightened emotions around partnerships, around what your partner's doing, business partner, significant other, what have you, clients even. And, this is happening in square with Neptune up there in your 10th house. So there could be weird situations that pop up in your career, or because of your career, or maybe even partnerships to do with your career. There's some weird nebulous things that are happening and you're not really sure why they're happening. Just know that this will pass. It's just not the most fun thing in the world. Luckily, though, we do have a grounded trine to Saturn in the mix this week, helping us to really kind of ground down, those very Neptunian, weird, wonky energies. For Cancer and for Cancer rising, this is happening in your 6th and in your 12th house. So with Mercury, or with the sun actually transiting your 12th house, you could have had some behind the scenes conversations. You could have had some, visits to doctors, hospitals, ashrams, yogas, being pulled away from the mundane and the fray of the world. And now there could be some really kind of weird, nebulous things going on with this full moon in square with Neptune. And there could be messages that come in from either a doctor, or from an institution, or from a coworker, or a colleague, or a subordinate, if that's applicable to you. But it's intense, and it's something that you're going to have to deal with, right? Because this is also in your 6th house of those things. This could also mean that in your day-to-day, there's going to be some really intense and really powerful situations that arise throughout your day that are this is your chart ruler, right? This is Cancer. The moon is full and it's close to the earth. Your emotions are going to be heightened. You could be on DEFCON 1 red alert with the moon here, as close it is. Well, I can't speak, Cancer. And so this could also mean that, with this heightened moon close to the earth in your 6th house, you're going to be craving freedom on that day-to-day level. You're going to be craving a need, a want, and a desire to kind of break away from the norm and get out from under whatever is burdening you here in the 6th house. And so there could be something like that going on for you specifically. There could be, money that needs to be spent, or some weird bills that come in out of nowhere. And it's like, what the heck is this expense? I'm not understanding where this is coming from or why I need to pay for this. And I say that because the sun is in your 12th house of things hidden. So pay attention to that. This could also be money that has to be paid out to hospital, or for a retreat, or maybe for a foreign trip or something like that. Just be aware of that. And so then For Leo and for Leo rising, this full moon is happening in your 11th and in your 5th house. So this is, this is aspecting you a lot nicer than some other ones, just because it is in trine and sextile with your ascendant and descendant. So this, especially if you're a late degree Leo rising, this is actually hitting you much nicer in terms of the full moon itself. There could definitely be, with the sun, your focus has been on your friends, on the people that you associate with by choice, on the groups and organizations that you belong to. With Mercury here coming back in, just before this full moon and strengthening that sign of Gemini, there could definitely be really nice conversations, really fast-paced, quick conversations that come in. But with this full moon happening in your 5th house, I mean, this is the house of expression. This is a house of creation or creative energy, not creation itself, but creative energy, children, joy, play, fun, things like that. There could be something that, maybe is coming to a head with your kids, maybe coming to a head in terms of, your romantic boyfriend, girlfriend kind of energy that's going on. And I say this, there's definitely something nebulous going on in terms of either other people's money, your taxes, joint finances with other people, insurances, payouts, 401ks, things like that. Even wills and testaments. There could be some really weird things going on there, even some weird communications coming in that have to do with that as well. And it's kind of throwing a monkey wrench in this, what would otherwise be like a really great time for you. There could definitely be some weird wonky things going on there too, with joint finances and others. So for Virgo and Virgo rising, this full moon is happening in your 10th and in your 4th house. So with this happening here, this is happening, the sun is transiting your 10th house. You have Mercury, which is not only your chart ruler, but also, the ruler of your 10th house coming there. It's still in shadow, but it's back in its home sign. It's refreshed, it's happy, it's moving. There's going to be communication going on in terms of your career and public standing and public reputation. And with the sun here, there's going to be a focus on, there could be secrets that are revealed here, right? Because the sun rules your 12th house of secrets. We do have, even this could be secret partnerships or secret negotiations that come into, that could be something that happens. But this could be about a property or a place of living, or even something going on with your family of origin, your parents. There could be some really intense messages that are coming in through partnership or through the family in some way, shape, or form, that's really going to kind of throw some weird energy around in that 4th house. But there's a need, a want, and a desire with this full moon, as close as it is to the earth in this 4th house for you, of wanting freedom in the home and property, right? And that could definitely cause some weird things to be going on in partnership with other people. Just to watch out for any type of nebulous or nefarious kind of things going on in partnership. If you're negotiating something this week, I would definitely say be very careful and make sure you're listening to your intuition, and make sure you're listening to like that inner voice, that inner knowing that you have, Virgo. Just because, there could be some weird things going on there. For Libra and for Libra rising, this full moon is happening in your 3rd house and in your 9th house. So this full moon with the sun transiting your 9th house, I mean, this is fun. This is, the sun transiting your 9th house. Maybe you're thinking about going on a trip. Maybe you're thinking about education. Maybe you're thinking about, what you want to do long term. You're thinking about your worldview and how you see the world around you. And with Mercury coming in here, it's strengthening this 9th house, this conviction that you have, publishing or public speaking, things like that. So that could be a thing too. Now with the full moon happening in your 3rd house, there could be something going on with your siblings. There could be something going on with your extended family members, your cousins, your your aunts, your uncles, your community that you're in, the community that you belong to. There could be some really kind of weird things. It's going to be really intense and really emotional because of how close the moon is to, the earth at the time, at this time. Just be aware that there could be some really weird health issues too popping up. And maybe instead of publishing, speaking, or writing or something like that that's going on for you, this could be some weird health issues that are causing you to have to go to institution, right? To have to go to a formalized institution. Maybe there's something going on with your hands. Maybe there's something going right because Gemini is that. Sagittarius rules the legs, things like that. So definitely, I would say there could be weird things going on with your day to day, or maybe there's a lack of focus or a lack of energy to do the things that you need to do day to day to communicate with other people, and to kind of have that broader viewpoint too. There could be some weird stuff going on there. So that is for Libra. For Scorpio and for Scorpio rising, this full moon is happening in your 8th and in your 2nd house. So the full moon is happening in your 2nd house, your resources, your finances, how you make your money. With the full moon here and how close it is to the earth, I mean, this is really intense energy. This is very fast paced energy. So, and with the sun up in, in your 8th house in Gemini, and with Mercury coming through and strengthen it, there's definitely a push-pull between your finances, joint finances, taxes, inheritances, insurances, insurance payouts, 401ks, other people's money, things like this. And so there's definitely something coming to a head. There's definitely a weird push-pull. And with Neptune in the mix in your 5th house, this could definitely be some like weird energy to do with like maybe money going to children or money going to kind of a hobby or something that you thought was one way, but it's not. Maybe it's a different way. 5th house can also be like boyfriend girlfriend energy as well. So maybe there's some kind of weird nebulous things going on there with, maybe even power struggles to do with your money and joint finances or taxes, inheritances, things like that. And with the moon as close it is at the moon as close as it is in Sagittarius, this could very well be that you want your freedom. You want your monetary freedom yourself, and you don't want to be dealing with the BS with taxes or inheritances and things like that. So then with Sagittarius and Sagittarius rising, this is happening in your sign. This is, the full moon is highlighting you. You yourself are going to be more emotional, more volatile. And it could have to do because of something going on in partnership or something to do with partnership and the home front. Maybe, with Neptune here squaring this full moon, you are going to be more volatile. You are going to be more intense because there's something going on maybe that's very uncomfortable because the moon does rule your 8th house, right? And so there could definitely be some intense traumas coming to the surface to be released. But as a Sagittarius, you want your freedom. You don't want to be bogged down by the things that go bump in the night. You want your freedom. You want it the way you want it, and that's how it is. With the sun transiting your 7th house, it's highlighting your relationships. Maybe there's something going on and there is either someone from afar that is communicating with you, and maybe it's super intense and super important. With Mercury coming in, it is strengthening your relationships. So I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing, but there could be something really weird, really nebulous going on with the home front. There could be, burst pipes. There could be some weird things going on there. There could definitely be that too. So that's for you. So Sagittarius. So for Capricorn and Capricorn rising, this full moon is happening in your 12th house. And so this is the house of hidden things. This is the house of secrets. This is the house of hospitals, ashrams, retreat centers, rehabilitation centers, things like that. So whatever you have going on down there in the 6th house in terms of the everyday mundane, maybe with the sun transiting here, you've been going really hard at doing something every single day. And now, with Mercury coming through and strengthening this house, this is great. But we have this full moon that's happening in your 12th house. Your sleep pattern is definitely going to be disrupted. This could definitely have something to do with hospitals or behind the scenes or hospice or something like that. With the square to Neptune happening in your third house, there could definitely be some weird nebulous communications coming in, or communications coming in, that are just bizarre, and it's really got you amped up, or it's really got your partner amped up, right? And so, because the moon does rule your seventh house of relationships, this could be your partner. This could be something going on with your partner, and it's something that is happening behind the scenes. It could be a health crisis. It could be a mental crisis, right? Because the third, the sixth, the ninth, and the 12th, these are all mental houses. They're succeedant houses. And what that means is these are the thoughts before the actions. So with that being said, your partner could be amped up, ratcheted up a few notches because of some weird nebulous conversation that happens. And so, to do with work, mundane things that are going on. So that could be that too. And then Aquarius and Aquarius rising, this full moon is happening in your 11th house with the sun transiting your 5th house. So you've been focused on what's fun, what's playful, what's joyful. You've been focusing on, your boyfriend or your girlfriend, your love affairs, your partner, kind of things like that, your children, if that's applicable to you, just having fun and just kind of living it up. And so with Mercury coming through and strengthening this sign, at the time of this full moon, that's great. But there is a full moon that's happening in your 11th house in terms of like your social networks, the people, places, and things that you adhere to, or the people that you not adhere to, the people and the organizations and the groups that you belong to by choice, how you align yourself with others. There's something really intense that's going on here. And this could have something to do with your finances. This could have something to do with your money, your materials, your possessions, right? Because the square to Neptune, this is in your second house. So there could definitely be some weird things going on, and maybe even some weird nebulous things going on with money for you, to do with the groups and organizations that you belong to. And, this kind of power struggle that's going on with the full moon in terms of what's being highlighted in your friends groups, if you have any planets or points there up in the 11th house. So that is what I have for Aquarius. And then for Pisces and for Pisces rising, this full moon is happening, in your 10th house. And so having a full moon in your 10th house, as close as it is, there could be a big completion happening for you in terms of your career, your public standing, your public reputation, and what's going on with you out in the public sphere, how you are in front of an audience, or how you are in front of the public. And so there's definitely there could be some things going on the home front too, with the sun transiting here. With Mercury coming here, this is definitely strengthening your fourth house of your home, your family, your property, and what you come home to every single day. But there's something really intense that's going on, especially in career for you this week, particularly coming to a head, coming to a boil. And there could be a need and a want and a desire for freedom. And it could have to do with children. It could have to do, because the moon does rule your 5th house. So definitely could have to do with children, hobbies, fun, play, joy, things like that. And then, with the square to Neptune, that's happening in your sign. So you yourself could be feeling ambivalent about what's going on, or you're not really feeling like yourself with Neptune here, especially if you're an N degree Pisces rising. There could definitely be a weird kind of energy going on with you, or with your physical body even. Maybe this intensity is affecting you on a physical level too. So that is what I have for you, and I do hope that you all enjoyed this, and I will catch you soon. Bye everyone.